What do you remember about April 3rd, 1956? Before you took the photos of the tornado, what were you doing that day?
As I remember, thinking back over the years, I was returning home from a photo assignment, and I had my speed graphic sitting on the car seat right next to me. And as I looked out, it was raining, and the wind was blowing a little bit, and light rain, and it really looked like a heavy storm moving in. I didn't really have my radio on, so I hadn't heard anything about there being a tornado or any kind of a strong storm. And I looked up, and the first thing I saw was the tornado funnel way off in the almost directly west of where I was located on 501 Comstock Boulevard. So I grabbed the camera and leaned up against the west end of my house where I was kind of out of the wind there, and started photographing the funnel as it went by. And I think I ended up with 8 different views about every minute or so apart as the funnel passed by. At first, when I first saw it, I wasn't too sure if it was moving towards me or at an angle to me, and I was kind of prepared to run to the basement if it looked like it was going to come towards me. But as I could see it moving almost parallel to me, so I decided I'd just stay there and keep photographing. So that's what I did.
Was this the first time you had ever experienced a tornado?
Oh yes, I've never seen one. I've sort of seen pictures, of course, but I've never experienced one. But I had no doubt what it was and how serious it could be. So I just stayed there and kept shooting with the camera until it was almost out of sight, and it kind of diffused as it got further north from my area, and so I didn't shoot anymore. It's really too bad that I had this particular camera with me, and that I saw the tornado coming and had only just minutes or less to start photographing, because I had my 16 millimeter camera loaded with 16 millimeter color film in my darkroom in the basement of my home, and I was only like 50 feet away from it, but I didn't have time to go get it. And by the time I had photographed the 8 or 9 shots of the tornado funnel, it was already out of view, so I just never had the chance to photograph the with a 16 millimeter color. I wished I had, really, but I just wasn't in a position to do so at that time.
Did you realize what you were documenting at the time, how significant it was?
Well, yeah, more or less, because at that time, a photograph of a tornado was really quite rare. You just never seen them around very much, once in a while. So I decided that I would get them processed, so I called the Grand Rapids Herald at the time, where I had a friend down there who was one of the photographers and the darkroom technicians. And he says, bring the film down and we'll process it. So I went in the darkroom with him, and we processed the 4x5 film, holding one of them up to the light to make sure that it was dense enough for processing, because I set the camera, I think I had it set at f8 at 200th of a second, and I wasn't too sure if I had to shoot it a little wider, because it was rather dark and my negatives might have been underexposed. So we processed them as long as we looked at one of them to make sure that there was a good image on it. And we decided the image was pretty good, so we finished processing. And one of the editors there looked at the photographs, the negative, and he says, do you mind if we put this on the AP and the UP photo network wire service? And I said, sure, go ahead. And so they sent it all over the United States at that time.
Was that one of your first publicized photographs that got like worldwide attention?
Oh yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah. Were you surprised how quickly it just springboarded around?
Well, I had quite a few inquiries people from various states out west, as far as California, write a letter indicating that they would like to have a picture of it. And so I made a bunch of them, and I sold a number of them. And I think that's how Wing at the Civil Defense had his picture, because he purchased a set of them from me.
Do you remember anything abnormal about the day? Hot, humidity, before the tornado happened? Because you were coming back from a work shoot, right?
Well, yeah, I had a photo assignment, and as I was coming home, I noticed that it was, getting dark at about 7 o'clock in April, so it wasn't dark yet, but because of the dark clouds and the storm coming in, it was really quite dark. And the raining, and I thought, well, this is really going to be a ding-ho storm, and I had no idea that was going to be a tornado until I spotted it just as I turned to get out of the car, and there it was, just looking me right in the face. So I grabbed the camera.
No weather reports that day that caught you off guard to be ready for severe weather?
No, I didn't have the radio on in the car, and I had a photo assignment when I was busy working, so I hadn't been on the radio or listened to the radio, and I didn't have it on in the car radio, so I didn't realize that there was a tornado there. So it really surprised me, but as soon as I saw the cloud, I pretty much knew what to do about it, so I did.
Quickly describe to me what kind of camera this is that you shot those photos.
Oh yeah, well, the camera is a 4x5 Crown Graphic, and at the time I had a film pack in the camera that has 12 sheets of film on it, and the assignment that I just came back from, I had photographed three of the 12 negatives, prints, that is the film, and so I had the rest of them left out of the 12s, and had 9 left. So I took this one and this camera. There's a few things you have to do. I'm kind of surprised that I was able to do them and not make a mistake. First of all, you had to pull the slide out, otherwise you wouldn't have anything. I pulled the slide out, and the film would be in the camera, and then on the end of the camera, right here, the film tabs would come out, and they were numbered. And so I was like on number 9, and I had to cock the shutter like that, and then take the picture here. It has a solenoid on here that operated by just a button here, and it's when I pressed the button with the solenoid would trip the shutter, but I had to cock it each time, and then I would take and pull the tab out to the next film pack sheet of film, and so I just kept pulling them out as I kept going. So I kept shotting it, come up and take a picture, pull the tab, cock the shutter, and then take another shot. So I was able to not make any mistakes on all of that, and was able to get those 9 shots, or 8 or 9 shots, without a serious problem.
Do you think adrenaline had something to do with that?
Well, I didn't have time to get scared, because I was just thinking about the shooting and making sure I didn't make a mistake with the camera, and have some double exposures or some blanks or movements. And I was a little bit worried about the f-stop control, because I was shooting at 200th of a second, and I figured that f8 would do, because I had the Super Tri-X black and white film, 4x5 film in the film pack, and that's quite fast. That's up to 400. The speed is a 400, and so that's quite fast, and I figured that should come pretty close. But after shooting hundreds of pictures, I just never used a meter. I just sort of guessed the exposure, and most of the time I come pretty close. Behind the funnel, I could see like a daylight, like a sunset, where it was still light behind the funnel, so the funnel itself, being so dark, stood out quite firm. And I could see as the funnel was passing by, like over on in Comstock Park area, and as it left Standale, I was able to see where the explosion, where it had went into some electrical power lines and big explosions, and then I could also see like this from the top of the tornado or the sides of the tornado, big sheets which looked like sheets of about newspaper size from my angle, and actually there were parts of roofs and houses and stuff. It was all coming out of the sides and falling down to the ground. And I think that I don't believe that any of those were shown in the picture, but there was a lot of stuff just floating around in the air, and the explosions and the bright lights from where it hit the power lines.
Did it happen very fast from your perspective?
Well,
or was it pretty graceful?
Well, I don't know. I don't recall that it took a long time. It just probably a total of about 10 to 15 minutes, and it was past. If I could recall, I just didn't want to make a mistake. Made sure I had pulled the slides and pulled the tab on the changing the film so that I wouldn't get a double exposure, and make sure I didn't jerk the camera around, and because it was kind of windy and rainy, and I was leaning up against the house, so I had good good place to. I wasn't being blown around like that. But
yeah, so there was no risk of blurring these.
No. I tried to hold it still. Yeah.
You also shot 16mm movie film during the event after the fact.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Well, before I did that, I was the official photographer for the civil defense, and so they went to work right away, and they called me and said they would like to have me come along and bring my this camera, my black and white camera, because at night I didn't have a light for the movies. So, and this was at night, and we went around to some of those places, like in Rockford area, where a motorhome, a campground where they had trailers and so on, and we were taking pictures of the damage, and this was still at night, and we were escorted by police to get us through the lines, so because they had everything blocked off, and the ambulances were there still picking up and looking for people that were hurt or maybe killed, because there were 18 people killed in that particular storm. And so I was there while they were still looking for some of those people. And one of the places where I was in Comstock Park, this campground place, we were talking to one of the fellows that saw the tornado coming, and he hollered and asked everybody to go into the wash room area where they had the wash machines and dryers, and then they had a cement block wall all around it. And he said as soon as he got into the door and shut the door, he looked up and the roof went away, and the people were all inside, and the roof just lifted right off, and no one was hurt in that happening in that place there. But just outside there were travel trailers and tents and everything upside down, and just very, very bad. Some of the photographs that I took that night are thing. Then I went the next day with the movie camera and went around to all of the places in Standale and Bristol Road area and Comstock Park, and photographed 16mm color movie film of all of the damage there. So that was interesting.
When you were there at night, George,
yeah,
did you witness people being rescued? Did you see this physically happening? People being pulled out of the bubble? Or?
No, I didn't. We just talked to that one fellow that had his experience of going into that washroom area, But there was the ambulance there, and they were looking for people, but the people were just all, maneuvering around, looking for each other, and looking at the damage where their travel trailer or their area was upside down, or they couldn't even determine that it was theirs because it was such a tremendous wreckage.
Had you seen, at that point in your life, had you ever seen any type of natural destruction like that, or similar, or was this?
As I think about it, no, I don't believe that. Not at that extent.
So the next day, do you remember you went from Bristol? It's obviously Bristol Road there, and then you went all the way up into Standale, Comstock Park with the civil defense taking pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you go beyond that, like towards Rockford, or how far?
No, just the 3 locations.
We're trying to figure out what's on the film.
Oh.
Yeah, talk about.
Well,
what did you shoot on the 16 millimeter and the movie that you put together?
I'm going to have to look at it again. But the 400 feet, I shot and then I moved and I would shoot and move, and so I'm not sure. There'll be some things on there. I'll be surprised when I see them.
Well, the Channel 8 guy, his name was Ernie Zetley. He worked for Wood TV at the time. He did a flyover, and then there was a whole bunch of stuff it was a black and white 16 millimeter reel. What was it, about 20 minutes long?
Yeah, it was an 800-foot reel of film.
Yeah, it came out to about 20-something minutes.
Yeah.
And he didn't remember taking
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, sure.
He said when he was in the plane, he got sick because it was.
Oh, really? Oh, he got sick. Oh, my.
But he said, he kept filming even while he was puking.
Oh, my.
But
No.
He flew from Hudsonville all the way up to that Brookhaven there on West River, the one that you did the night there. And you could see it. Like, I've seen enough pictures to start to recognize places.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully I'll be able to recognize with your pictures where you're. Now, did you have the movie camera with you when you were taking those?
Yes, the daylight pictures.
But not the nighttime pictures.
Not the nighttime.
Okay, because we were wondering. I had inferred that you had taken it at night because it said April 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the box. So April
Well,
3rd would-
I was photographing those 3 days, and that's basically what I meant.
Okay.
But I had 3 different cameras with me. I had 35 millimeter, I had a 2 1/4 square black and white, and the movie.
So you had the movie camera with you during the daytime?
Yeah, and I had this camera, so I was shooting with 4 cameras.
Okay. Yeah, because I have some color movie footage of that 3 Mile area there, and of course some of Standale. But you probably got spots that I don't have color footage for. Maybe I'll be able to recognize it from still photos. Like if you went to Comstock Park, there was the dairy or the Lamoureux dairy with all the dead cows all over the place.
Yeah, I have pictures of them hunting for the cattle, or some of them that was laying down.
Yeah.
That would be on the movie.
Okay.
Everything was blocked off, and the only reason I was able to get into those areas was the civil defense, because we had the uniform and our badges and pass ID pictures, or ID material, that we was able to get into those areas.
Was that film ever used for civil defense preparedness here in West Michigan?
Not that I know of.
No. Okay.
I think maybe some of the black and white photographs might have been used in lectures or talks or something for maybe putting together, getting people interested in being become a civil defense area. But as far as I know, it has never been published by them.
After you made that movie, who did you show it to?
Anybody wanted to see it.
Yeah. You show it to a lot of people?
A few, yes. Yeah.
Did you just have gatherings at your house and be like, would you like to see
Well,
this
no.
movie of the tornado?
No, like our camera club, and mostly it really didn't show it very much, to come to think about it.
Really?
No,
Was it any reason?
no, not particularly. At the time, I had these pictures, and they were easier to set up and talk about them. But with a movie, you needed a projector, then in a darkened area, and so it just never come about that much.
I see.
Actually, the movie is not a scripted movie. It was just taken what was available, and we just went from place to place, and I tried to take enough information to try to explain as much as I could by putting together good views and close-ups. And
How long were you in civil defense for?
in civil defense, oh golly, maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And it kind of dissolved away when some of the older guys decided not to do it anymore, or they had other interests and so on. So it sort of went away.
Out of curiosity, what did this event leave you with? Did it give you a more profound respect for what nature can do?
Well, I think that was universal. Everybody sort of thought that, that it was really surprising and eye-opening and enlightening of how damaging one of these storms is, that it could do such tremendous damage and lift trailers and houses and roofs and completely destroy it. And it's almost unbelievable that just wind force would do that, and it really was quite enlightening.
You got to see a lot of the livestock losses.
Yeah, I saw some of the livestock that they had the people out there. I don't know just what group they were. They were in uniform and they had guns, and they were looking around for ones that were crippled or hurt. They put them out of their misery. And I think I have some photographs of that.
After the tornado, did you notice, was there any heightened awareness in Kent County specifically for tornadoes?
I think,
major event.
well, yeah, I think everyone was really put much on edge when a storm was coming, that they would think, gee, are we going to get another one? And I'm sure that they thought about it. And I can remember once in one of my assignments, I was going to photograph a wedding, and the wedding was over in Creston, one of the churches near in Creston area. And that particular night, a tornado alert a warning was announced just before the wedding, and so they put everybody down in the basement and went ahead with the wedding, and I photographed the wedding. But I thought at the time, I've got my camera and I'm going to keep my eye open, but nothing was reported. But the wedding was they kept on with it and finished the wedding. But I can recall that they were scared, and so they all went down in the basement. Normally they have the wedding up in the chapel, with all of the nice fittings and everything. Here they were downstairs in the kitchen area.
They said the vows down there? Did they say the vows down there?
Oh yeah, sure. They finished the wedding in the basement. Yeah.
So just tell me, you owned and operated your own photo business as well, on top of the crime scene investigations? And
yeah. I was known as Distinctive Photography, and I had a freelance business that I did for maybe 20-some years. I photographed family groups and weddings and parties and that kind of thing, along with working with the American Seating for 20 years and also 24 years with the police department, 5 years with an advertising agency. But all that while I was doing freelance work in between all of that. In fact, have you ever been to the Civic Theater downtown?
Yes.
Had you noticed all of the pictures on the walls, all of the plays?
Yeah, I've seen those.
I took every one of those.
So you were the civic photographer as well?
I was a photographer for the Civic Theater for 30 years.
And how long have you been a resident here in Grand Rapids?
Oh, since 1949,
Okay.
48.
Hmm.
After I finished 2 years of professional photographer's school in California, Los Angeles.
And you mentioned that you were also one of the first photographers for
For
what became Channel 8, Wood TV8 was WLAV.
Yeah, WLAV Leonard Versluis studio. Yeah, I was hired by him to be a news photographer when the Gut Station was going to be put on the air. So in between that time, I was taking photographs of for their records of putting together the station and putting up the tower and shooting the WLAV signatures so they could put them on the air to identify the station. And in fact, that was one of the pictures you saw downstairs of my behind that movie camera. So I was there, and I was with them for about 6 to 8 months or so. And of course, being interested and with training in professional industrial photography, the news photography was a little bit out of my line. So I was still leaning towards industrial photography, and so I went to work with the American Seating Company for 20 years doing that kind of work.
Well, tell me about this Western Union telegram you got here.
Well, you want me to read it?
Yeah, sure. What does it say?
I entered one of the pictures, number 2 of my series, in a national newspaper contest sponsored by Encyclopedia Britannica. They sponsored the national newspaper contest, and so I entered one of my tornado pictures into that area, and not knowing whether I could win with competition from all over the United States, that I really didn't think that was going to do very much, but I did receive a telegram from Western Union here. It says, "Congratulations, your picture Funnel of Destruction won 3rd prize in the 14th Annual Botanica National Professional Photographers Association contest." To be selected that way from national photographers, that's photographers from newspaper photographers from all over the United States were in competition with that I come out with a 3rd place. I thought that was kind of nice.